Hi, I'm Kelly with the GeniBLISS, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about what your digital asset plan is. And it's kind of a fancy way of saying, how are you protecting all of your digital files, right? Not protecting them from viruses, although that's important, obviously, but protecting them in terms of if something happens, do you have a backup somewhere? And if it hasn't happened to you, something sooner or later will happen to your digital files. Even silly things like, you're working on a file and you don't save it. And you think you did, but you didn't, right? That happens kind of all the time. But what happens when it's a little bit more serious? Like, what if it is all of my vacation photos on my phone? Or what if it is 20 years of family history research that I have digitally on my computer? There are a lot more serious things that we can lose than, say, one file. When we're losing groups of files over groups of years, it impacts us much greater. So let's talk about digital assets. Let's pretend this scenario is you. You're busy loading your car up with stuff. You really need an extra hand. And so you grab your phone and you set it on the roof of the car. So you have that extra hand to pack up and get going what you need to do. And then you drive away. And that phone on the roof of your car slides off of the car onto the street and proceeds to get run over again and again and again. So now this great phone that it has captured all these great memories is broken into parts and pieces, and it is never going to work again. Everything on your phone is gone forever. What is the one, or what are the top two things that you would miss on your phone? If you didn't have a backup of your phone, of course. So for me, the top things that I would miss would be my memories, the photos that I have of my family, of things that I did, of things that were funny, of things that captured my eye, just really interesting landscaping, whatever those photos are. Those are the things that for me would be irreplaceable. And I'm guessing for most of you too. So, do you have a digital backup plan? Many years ago, this is kind of what the digital backup plan looked like. We were able to have a CD or a floppy drive or a hard drive. Let me back up. Many years ago, we had things like CDs or even DVDs or some kind of recording material that we could stick in our computer and say, hey, copy all of these things onto this medium. And then we would write on these with a Sharpie and write what it was and the date, and that would be our backup. And that worked for many years. Some of the challenges with it is that it was a manual process. And if if my plan was to do it every single month or every single week, did that really happen? No, it really didn't. And so even though my plan may have been to back up my computer once a month, maybe a couple of times a year, I would get lucky and then I would kind of forget altogether and I might go a couple of years. And then what would happen if my hard drive crashed, right? That would be pretty awful. So it was great for what it was. It's not a great media to use now. And we really need something that's a little bit more automatic and helps us do it in a more automatic way, right? Okay, so 3-2-1 backup rule. This is what it essentially says, that we have 3 copies of our information on 2 different media sources, and one of those sources is stored in a different location. So back in the 90s and the early 2000s, we might have taken our backup copy and maybe stored one at work and keep the rest at home, but store the most current one at work. Or maybe an older one at work and keep the current ones at home. Or some people, when it's super important information, may even put a copy in their safe deposit box and do it that way. So many different ways to store it at a different location. So we'll talk more about that in a minute. Okay, 3 copies. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. 3 copies. 1 is your original and 2 are your backups. So that's kind of pretty self-explanatory. 3 total copies, 1 original, 2 backups. Now let's talk about media. I talked about how this could be a media source, but it's not a good one today, mostly because this technology is going to be obsolete in the near future. Another media source would be like a jump drive, right? They just plug into your computer, and then you've got this storage media here. It's great for quickly storing things. These aren't necessarily intended for like to store data for like decades, etc. They're just not intended for that. And this one happens to be a regular USB, but we know that USB ports are changing, and now we're seeing USB-Cs much more prevalent. And, you know, at some point, this might not plug into many things anymore. So it's important to choose media sources that we can use going forward, or not be so permanent that we can't change them. Okay, this is probably one of the best media sources, and these are what I use on mine. I'll show you. These are external hard drives. So they're hard drives just like what's in my computer, but these are kept externally and they plug into my computer system. So let me show you a little bit about what mine looks like. This is what my system looks like right here. This file, this hard drive has all of my working files, all like thousands and tens of thousands of photos on it, etc. And this one is my backup. So this backs up this guy right here. So this is my original, and this is my backup. Now that's only one media source, right? Here. This could be a second media source, but maybe not the best choice. So my recommendation is a cloud storage, so that you have maybe your external drive and you have a cloud-based storage. And the great thing about a cloud-based storage is it also meets the second requirement, or the third requirement of having a stored copy in a different location. Because it's in the cloud, it doesn't live in your house. It probably lives in another part of the country or even another part of the continent. And the great thing about using a name brand company like Amazon, or if you're using Google Drive as your cloud storage, or if you're using a third party, is they have backups. Like the third party I use has backups of my backup. So if something happened in one server, they have a backup of that somewhere else. So if something happened to their company, they wouldn't be out of luck either. They have backups. So here's what this looks like on my actual desk where my computer is. You can see you have these two drives right here. Again, this is my working file. I actually don't store anything on my personal computer. I use my computer hard drive only to store applications that I need for my computer. All of my working files are here. And then this is my backup, and my computer automatically runs backups. So they're stored right here. And then I have that cloud-based backup through a company called Backblaze. And you can see them here at backblaze.com. Backblaze, the reason I picked them many, many years ago is because when you have something else plugged into your computer, they will also, when they back up your system, they back up this as well. And that was important. I needed backups of this, not backups of my computer hard drive, right? So that's why I chose Backblaze so many years ago, and they've been great. I love them in the fact that if I need to restore something, I'm not usually restoring my entire computer system, but I can log into Backblaze, pull up the folder, and then look for the actual file that I need to restore, and it's there. It's super easy, and it's literally like that fast. So that's my system and how I have solved that 3-2-1 backup and exactly what it looks like for me. So what's your plan, and how do you meet that 3-2-1 backup rule so that you're covered should something happen to your computer and your hard drive? Now, if you have any other questions or would like us to answer any other questions around backing up data and photos, just put them in the comments, and if there's a need, we can make more videos that show how to back up other things as well. All right. Thank you so much, and I hope this was helpful for you. We'll talk with you soon.